when things aren't going our way, we feel the need to try and control situations and circumstances, thinking that us controlling things is going to be what gives us peace of mind. But that's the furthest thing from the truth, man. It's not your concern when things are going to happen or how they're going to happen. So the act of surrender in itself actually does require a lot of power, because as I said, you're releasing that tight grip. You're not so fixated on how and when things are going to happen, because you have let go and you have allowed the universe to take the wheel, because you understand that that is not your concern. You know, something that's really interesting to y'all is I found that when I have put myself in a position where like I can really let go, it gives me so much like mental clarity. It creates so much room for creativity. It seems like I'm more in tune with my intuition. And when I let go is when the unexpected opportunities present themselves. So it's definitely something to keep in mind, you know, when you are feeling too attached to your current phases in life and, you know, you're just so curious about what's going to happen next, all the dots will connect themselves if you allow them to, but you can't be so fixated on trying to make it happen all on your own, because the truth is you can't. Holding on to things can actually be harmful, and that's what we fail to realize a lot of the time. Holding on to things creates stress, anxiety, it limits our perceptions, yet we still have the tendency to overthink about these things constantly, thinking that the more that we think about them, the more it's going to accelerate the process as far as when we attain our goals. But attachment is a lot more harmful than anything else. I've experienced it myself on many occasions where I get into such a deep focus, into such a deep flow, that I start to really like hold on to these goals and these accomplishments that are like so important to me, that I end up burning myself out, and I actually end up blinding myself from other opportunities that are right around me, you know, because I'm just like, the focus almost gets like too deep. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. Like, of course, balance is everything. Yes, you want to be focused and you need to be consistent and persistent in whatever it is that you do. But the moment you get too attached to these things, you're no longer helping the process, no matter how much action you take. And that's the misconception. Y'all ever been to like the beach, like as a kid or even as a young adult or adult? You know, you pick up some sand, and the harder you grasp the sand, the more it like slips through your fingers. Isn't that interesting? I feel like that analogy is so relevant within the context of this video. The tighter you grip, the more that it slips through your fingers. Like, you're literally losing it right before yourself. But again, just going back to what I was saying before, as far as balance, it's like you can pick up the sand, but the moment you start squeezing it too tight, you lose it. So I feel like it's the same within the context of our goals, or, you know, whatever it is that we want to achieve, right? It's important that we have the desire, because the desire is what sparks the inspired action. But the more that you hold on to it, the further away you're actually pushing it. Stop worrying. So I'm not sure if y'all know who Eckhart Tolle is. He's like an author and just very well known within like the spiritual space, and yeah, has definitely helped a lot of people raise their consciousness and their awareness. A very enlightened being. I'm just now like starting to get into some of his work, and he had a really interesting quote that really resonated with me, so I want to share it with y'all. And the quote went, "Sometimes letting go is an act of far greater power than defending or holding on." It's hard to detach when things are very important to us. And like I said, you put all of your energy into these goals, it's difficult and it requires conscious effort, because you can be holding on to these things and not even realize it. So it's very important that we bring ourselves back to the correct state of awareness, so we recognize, you know, why we're feeling stressed or why we're feeling anxious, because more often than not, like, we're doing it to ourselves, but we don't even recognize it. But again, if you put in that conscious effort to let go emotionally and physically too, because I find that like when I have been a little too attached to whatever it was that I was focusing on at the time, I can almost like feel it in my body. Like I begin to feel a lot more tense, and that same form of body language then translates into my emotions and just the way that I carry myself based on what it is that I'm focusing on. So just remember, like, it requires a lot of power to be able to detach in the same way that, say, you know, being vulnerable with somebody or even with yourself requires, right? Because like being vulnerable is essentially acknowledging and accepting weakness. And for a lot of people, that can be very difficult, especially when the ego starts to creep in. Because once the ego starts to creep in, it's like, nah, I ain't weak. But those people fail to realize that acknowledging and no longer resisting that weakness is actually where the true power comes from. Same principle applies when it comes to detachment. And I feel like this is honestly maybe the most powerful principle that I've learned this year, is how powerful the ability to let go is. Because again, within the context of this video, I'm like really speaking on it from the perspective of business, because I feel like I've demonstrated that weakness the most. And that's where like I've learned about this concept the most, is through business, right? But I know like for someone else, it might be different. It might be, you're too attached within your relationship, or, at your job. Or I know a lot of people, they get very attached to their physical goals, to the point where they may compromise their eating habits as a result, right? So there are so many different forms of attachment. But for me personally, like where I've experienced it the most has been through business. But with that, I've learned that the ability to let go within business has allowed me to develop a stronger understanding of how I can let go and detach within all these other areas within my life as well. So although, let's say you're a person who is very attached within your current relationship, if you can train yourself to detach within that relationship, you can take those same principles and apply them in your business as well, or at your job, or within your health goals. It's just being able to recognize when you have become attached and catching yourself, because it's very easy for it to slip and for it to be unconscious. But that's when your awareness really gets challenged, and there is a lot of significant opportunity for growth, because so much growth comes from self-awareness, right? It begins with self-awareness, recognizing what it is that you're doing wrong and how to correct it, because you can't correct something that you don't first acknowledge. But I know as humans, like there's a constant battle of working hard and detaching. What's the balance? That was always the thing that I fell into, was like, bro, like I'm putting in the time, I'm grinding, okay, but now I'm grinding too hard, because like it's all that I'm thinking about. When I stopped working, I'm still thinking about work. So don't take what I'm saying out of context. Taking inspired action is highly important, but do you have the ability to turn it off? That is the biggest question that you need to ask yourself. If shit isn't happening for you in the way that you want it to, do you have the ability to turn it off? I was watching an interview not too long ago of Michael Jordan and Kobe's trainer, and I forgot what his name was. I mean, the bro's been all over the internet since he's like come out with this book and stuff. Just talking about a lot of the training methods, and in regards to the different forms of training that he put MJ and Kobe through. And one of the things that he said was the primary difference between MJ and Kobe was MJ's ability to turn it off, go hang out with friends, go play some golf. Whereas Kobe was like, it was basketball 24/7. I don't want to think about anything else. It's just basketball. Whereas MJ developed a stronger ability to let go and just kind of like stop thinking about basketball when he was out of the gym, he was at home. But think about, like, it's not an easy task, right? Like if you think about it from like Kobe's perspective, he has given all of his time, all of his energy, dedicated his entire life to this game. Not that these other players haven't, but when it's all that you think about and it's all that you've trained yourself to think about constantly, it requires a lot of conscious effort to be able to turn it off, because it becomes uncomfortable. And that is the bottom line. Kobe has become comfortable doing the uncomfortable, which is waking up at 3 a.m. to go train, getting rest, going back to train again at like 6, getting rest, going back to train again at like 12. That's uncomfortable. Like that's unheard of, even with pro athletes, right? Like nobody trains like that. He has become comfortable doing the uncomfortable. But now the quote unquote comfortable, which is like relaxing, has become uncomfortable for him, which is the same with me as an entrepreneur. I've made it such a habit to work on my business constantly, wake up as early as I can, put in the time, be as consistent as possible, to the point where like, okay, shit, if I'm not working on it, I feel a little uncomfortable. So that's where self-awareness comes into play. And it's like, okay, turn it off and be comfortable with it being off for right now. So you got to keep grinding, but still finding that balance. And you will know within yourself, because you can feel it, right? Intuitively. Where they say it's like we have 3 minds. You have your brain, your heart, and your gut, right? They all are different forms of communication to us, however you want to characterize that, your soul, your spirit. But intuitively, it's like a blend between your heart and your mind when you are thinking from your gut. So intuitively, you know when you should turn it off. You just got to be able to listen and be receptive to that, to your own intuition. I really do love using sports analogies, just because I feel like sports are honestly like just the best metaphors for life. Like, and that's why I love all sports. Primarily, like, I've always watched basketball because that was the sport that like I invested most of my time into playing. But I love sports documentaries because I love being able to find the correlations between their struggles and the adversity that they face, and how I can find similarities within my own life and apply those same principles that they've learned throughout their journey into mine. So I remember not too long ago, I also watched a Tiger Woods documentary. And, you know, being a golfer, like, bro, like being a golfer, you got to be stone cold. Like, you got all these people watching you. You don't got a team. You're by yourself. And something that Tiger Woods said in that documentary was like, when it's game day, I have no other choice but to trust the work that I've put in. That's it. And he has trained himself to be able to do that, to go onto the field and to literally detach, stop trying to control every play, because he knows I have put in the work. I have been dedicated. There's nothing left for me to do but to just be here and do what I do. That takes a very strong level of willpower, like immensely strong, like really take that in, right? So I share these concepts and analogies with you to hopefully give you a better understanding of, again, like how you can translate these same concepts into your life. If you are feeling like shit isn't moving for you, everything has just been moving the same, but you feel like you're taking all the right actions. It's like, have you ever thought to yourself for a moment, like maybe I'm holding on a little too tight? In those moments when I do feel like I'm starting to get a little too attached to what it is that I can't control, I remind myself of what it is that I can control, and that's where I put in all of my focus, right? Because I can't focus on exact outcomes or timing of outcomes. Accept that, like make peace with that. However, what I can control is my attitude, my mindset, and my routines. That's what I can control. Even when shit isn't happening, what is your attitude? What is your outlook on what it is that you got going on in your day-to-days, right? You can control your attitudes. You can control your mindset. You can control your perception. So focus on that, as opposed to, oh, like, how's it gonna happen? When's my first sale coming in? When am I gonna meet that man, that girl? Like, there's no point. Like, you're essentially wasting your energy. And as it becomes more perpetual, it turns into a habit. And before you know it, it's just a regular thing now for you to just be attached to all of these things. So consciously now, like, ask yourself, have you been too attached? Do you need to let go? And if so, what areas of your life? And just take a moment to really reflect on what it is that I just shared with y'all as far as practical insight on how you can do that. How you can detach. You focus on the things that you can control. If y'all watch my videos, you already know how much I talk about meditation and how it has really reshaped my life, and how meditation really does enhance our abilities to focus, because you are like alone with your thoughts and you're essentially just observing your thoughts and being still. I think that is one of the best ways to detach and to let go, because a lot of times, like, we're attached to things that we don't even realize. So when you meditate, it brings a lot of clarity to the things that you are holding on to, and then you can make it very natural to be in this state of like detachment and surrender. And then of course visualization techniques, you know, just seeing what it is that you want to see before bed, and journaling goes such a long way. And then of course positive affirmations as well. Those are all really powerful techniques. But I would say, like, personally, if you're someone that's like just trying to get it going with like you're stepping into this new level of self-awareness, and you want to take your self-development like a little more seriously, and you want to start detaching from these things and be more poised and be more calm and be in more control of your own energy, meditation, man. And it doesn't have to be like these super long meditations. I suggest just trying to cultivate a new lifestyle that incorporates meditation into it. If you want to start off with just like literally 3, 4, 5 minutes a day, do that. But so as long as you can keep it consistent, I feel like that's the most important thing. And if we take it a step further and really understand where attachment comes from, I think that is vital, right? Because if you can get to the root of something, again, as far as clarity goes, you will get a much better understanding of how to change this perception that you have. Why do most people become attached to their goals or whatever it is that they're attached to? More often than not, I think I could safely say it's the fear of the unknown, fear of failure. Like, what is it that you fear? Once you get a better understanding of that, changing the perception of what this fear is becomes a lot more natural and seamless. So I just want to give y'all a quick example of myself. The first online business I ever started was a drop shipping store where I was selling like sneaker accessories, Okay. I had no intention of making money with that store. I just wanted to learn how to build an online store and how to make money online. This was right before the pandemic. So probably like 2019. Okay. And I launched my store. I set everything up. I set up my ad campaign on Facebook and built my Shopify, and my ads were live. Okay. I was super excited. I was like feeling jittery. I was like, oh my gosh, bro. Like I just put in like hours and hours, like countless hours into like learning about all this stuff and then like setting it all up. I was like, I have no idea how this is going to pan out. I was feeling a little shaky, right? And because I put in so much time into like building the store and like learning about what dropshipping was and how to be successful at it, I started to unconsciously become very attached to it. So as soon as my ads were live, I literally had my phone and I was like staring at it for the longest time. Like I was in this loop of like, okay, like I'm on Instagram, okay, go on YouTube, go check my Shopify store, go on Twitter at the time, like just like constantly in just this loop of like just staring at it and waiting for something to happen. I like now looking back, it's almost pretty crazy how attached I became and how quickly I became attached to hopefully seeing the results that I wanted. And I did that for like 2 days, as embarrassing as that is to admit. Yeah, I was just constantly attached, and of course, zero sales, no sales. And I felt quite defeated, just because I had no idea how this was going to pan out. I was like, did I just do something wrong? Like, what was going on? And then I was like, yo, like, fuck this. I don't even want to think about it. So I end up just like playing ball or whatever. Like, I'd probably go like shoot some hoops or whatever. Like, I don't even want to think about it. Completely forget about it. I have dinner. I like left my phone in my room because I was just like, I don't even want to think about it. Had dinner with the fam or whatever, come back to my room, came down to like 7 sales or whatever it was. It was like less than 10, but like more than 5 sales. I was over the moon. Like, I was like, wow, that's all I had to do? Like, not think about it? Just drop this shit and like not even think about it. Are you serious? Bro, I'm gonna put my phone in my room more often. Like, it was such an enlightening experience because it was like, wow. And it's the same shit too with like, y'all remember like back in high school, if you're ever talking to like a girl or like a guy or whoever it is, right, y'all? And then you send like a pretty like intense text message and then you're just like, oh my God, like, are they gonna hit me back? Okay. You keep refreshing. Did they read it? Like, you're not getting no response. Just put your phone away. Just let go. And then the message will come. It's the same principle. So I say all that to say that, you start small, okay? And you work your way up to being able to be in this state of detachment naturally to the point where you don't have to remind yourself of these things. And that's what the goal is to make this state of mind, the state of consciousness natural. You don't have to remind yourself constantly, like, let go. Like you're becoming too attached. It's just like, it's natural. So I really do encourage y'all to implement the practices that I went over in this video today, because you will definitely see some drastic changes as I have in my own life with, my first online businesses to the current businesses that I'm running, as well as relationships and health as well. And I think overall, it's like, why is this concept so important and why is it so powerful? I think ultimately you can just live a happier, peaceful, more fulfilling life at the end of the day, because you are now living a well-rounded experience where you are working towards your goals and you get the satisfaction of, striving towards something that is important to you. But when it's time to turn it off, you can focus on what's right in front of you, as opposed to like, again, like I was telling y'all before, I would be working for like a 10-hour day or whatever, and then I go have some dinner with my girl, but I'm still thinking about work. It's like, yeah, I'm at the dinner, but like mentally, like I'm not at the dinner. So I think it gives us the ability to live a more well-rounded, fulfilling experience, because we have the ability to control our focus, to control our attention, and to be present. And I feel like that's truly where a lot of the power lies. If this video resonated with you, share with someone who needs that little extra ounce of motivation. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you kicking it with me. Because of course, if you're watching videos like this all the way through, you hold a different level of attention and focus that most people nowadays just don't have. So genuinely, like, you have my respect. And of course, we are aligned to a degree, because if you're consuming information like this, your self-development, your happiness, your growth is very important to you. So nothing but love and respect for you. I'm sending you so much love and positive energy, y'all. I'll catch you on the next video. It's KT, signing off.